Hey everyone, it's me, Dr. Noah from Dr. Noah's Ark, and I'm here today to discuss being proactive in the face of autism. You know, I've been doing this now for many years and we get lots of good questions, and I have a lot of parents saying, what can I do to be proactive in the face of autism? Well, I'm going to take a spin on here and we're going to think that autism is defined as a criteria based on behaviors. So we might see loss of eye contact, social impairments, perhaps behaviors that are undesirable, like stimming or aggressivity, or perhaps perseverative behavior. But what if we just step back a moment and think, what is actually happening? And could I do something to prevent it, right? Almost like somebody later in life saying, could I do something to prevent Alzheimer's? Which at the very end, I make a connection of how the brain and the gut are working together actually, and it's a similar mechanism inside the brain, how that can track with autism and Alzheimer's. But first of all, what can you do? If we theorize that these toxins enter into the body and the gut, we want to first of all look at diet. We know there's a group of foods that if not properly broken down, namely wheat and dairy, they can cross over that precious blood barrier there in the stomach, the gut barrier, almost like these pictures behind me. The toxins can seep through that. If that were an intestinal cell and another intestinal cell, the toxins could seep through that. That's called a tight junction. It's tightly held together so that those two cells are tightly held together. That kind of mesh fabric work there is under the control of a protein called zonulin. So we want to protect that and be very precious with that. So foods like gluten and dairy can go through and cause a peptide opioid response, brain fog, everyday mental malfunction, forgetfulness, and it can actually go in the brain and trigger inflammation. The other thing we're going to talk about here is as we travel through then into the brain, likewise in the gut to the brain, what would that protective barrier be? Think of a white picket fence around your home, right? Keeping your nice dog inside and keeping the neighborhood riffraff dogs out there. Well, the blood-brain barrier is like that. It's like the white picket fence. It's made up of cells, though, that can activate actually in utero. We call that maternal immunoactivation or microglial activation. So the soldiers that sit around the fence, kind of guarding your fortress, are called astrocytes and microglial. If these toxins prime that area, various cells inside can blow up. I always tell folks, if you're sitting next to somebody and they're trying to get your attention and fooling around with you, and they kind of give you an elbow shot in the side or they kind of poke you a little bit, all of a sudden you're activated. You're the immune system now. And there's cells inside like mast cells and these astrocytes and microglial that now you've got them rattled, okay? You're no longer the gluten protein. You're no longer the dairy protein or the infection like Lyme disease or streptococcal. But the immune system now, the guy sitting next to you that you provoked is now activated. So this immune activation, this is cascade of inflammatory chemicals, and they certainly have names. TNF alpha, NF kappa B, cytokines, almost like the same way you feel when you're sick, right? When you're sick, you kind of feel low, lethargic, you don't want to talk, you kind of want to sit in a quiet room and rest and recuperate. And I understand that because your brain's kind of on fire. Now that term is called autoimmune encephalitis. Now, at a cell level, what's happening is things inside your brain are kind of brewing, aggravating, and they're tapping on neurons that aggravate you. So there's a lot of the aggression. Now, in left untreated or left unprotected, almost like if you don't put the wax on your car might degrade under the acid rain. Well, the brain can only handle so much oxidative stress. It can only handle so much histamine and cytokines storming against the precious cells and causing a reaction. So we look at antioxidants, micronutrients, and different chemicals to protect that area. So being proactive, if we back up a step and say, could we run a stool test, an organic acid test? Do we look at the microglial activation in the brain? Do we look at infections, heavy metals like aluminum, mercury, lead, cadmium? They can be found in the environment that are triggers for breaking down your fence posts, crossing that barrier, and getting inside. Now, let me make that connection I promised you I would. The connection that I believe I see in both Alzheimer's and autism is this. If we call this microglial activation syndrome, or this sort of maternal immune-induced activation syndrome, either in utero or later in life, okay? It can happen as a baby when you're in womb. So mamas, be productive, right? You take your folic acid in the right type, you take your omega-3s in the right type, you eat a healthy diet, you eat enough essential fats. These things do influence your baby. Obviously, things like not smoking, staying away from toxins, they actually help protect you in utero because these placental toxins can cross over and affect the baby. But later in life, what happens is these things can get in that blood-brain barrier, kind of like weeds now between the fence, and they can cause inflammation, and these chemicals can come inside and trigger a cell that causes inflammation and overstimulation. Now, this chemical called calcium, an element, if you will, sneaks in, and it kind of taps this nerve so much it overexcites it, and it overexcites it to death. Now wait, in Alzheimer's, if we break that connection and we don't have proper cognitive function, we might say, oh, where's my keys? Where's my glasses? What was his name, her name? And those things aren't actually coming to recollection in an area in the brain called the hippocampus. So your memory's kind of going, right? I joke and say sometimes we all have sometimers where sometimes I remember and sometimes I don't. But what happens is the degradation of these neuronal synapses and tau proteins and different chemicals come out that kind of entangle all the hardwiring that makes us forget. Well, in the developing brain, there's an area in there that kind of talks forward into this part of your brain up here for higher executive and cognitive thinking and functioning. So if we short circuit that, inflame that, we start to see deficit in memory. Because in the limbic system for emotions, it's not really talking to the prefrontal motor cortex. So you know that old commercial, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? It's kind of like the area in the brain saying, I'm so sick, I'm so inflamed, I'm so upset, I really don't feel like talking to you, the front of the brain, and that communication is lost. Those receptors have names, NMDA, AMPA. They're under a glutamate overexcitation thing. So tell you the folks this. If you're on a train going to Disney World, okay, it's the best day ever. It's sunny and 75. It's a happy tray on the track there, on the tram car to go to Disney. Everyone's happy. But if I come over and under the influence of infection, heavy metal, genetic predisposition, be it MTHFR or MAOA, these genes kind of throw that switch, and now my train doesn't go down the happy track. It derails me, and I go down the track of being nervous, intense. I tell people all the time, take your shoulders out of your ears, relax. So now you're impulsing on a neuron so hard and you're releasing calcium into that neuron, it overexcites it and it blows it up. That could be a proposed theory. So when we look at this and saying, what can we do, a plan to protect against autoimmune encephalitis, know ahead of time. Lots of parents say, hey, I'm so blessed, my children are healthy and well, they're neurotypical. And other parents say, geez, we just want more for my child's life. We want, more speech or more social interaction or less aggression or a better night's sleep or, to have normal bowel movements. There's tests to look at this. So if I start back and say, is it something I eat? Have a test for food sensitivities. We do that here at the office. We're very grateful. We have a lab on site. We can test for these. We can draw blood, collect the urine samples, and do everything right here on lab and find out, is there something you're putting in your mouth that's causing this response that I talked about before? Number two, what you can do is say, do I have a healthy microbiome? This crazy thing we now know called my microbiome, my good bugs versus my bad bugs, is like this. I tell people this all the time. If you dig a hole in your ground and put a plant in it, and you didn't take the time to put the potting soil in it, that's kind of like this whole thing. In Western Pennsylvania here anyhow, we have clay soils. You'd want to put nice potting soil so the probiotics can root, so those fibers can help ferment different things on the probiotics and make these short-chain fatty acids to heal and nurture the gut so I get good roots in my gut. And this crazy thing that happens, this wave of contractility that debrides your body of all the bacteria, is this migrating motor complex. It's under the influence of our nerves. So we receive chiropractic care here. We offer acupuncture here, and even for children too, it's a non-needle form to stimulate this thing to sweep out the toxins and clear up your gut, because unhealthy gut, unhealthy brain, leaky gut, leaky brain. It's a very similar process. So if your brain leaks, your gut leaks. If stuff crosses over and makes me feel intoxicated, called autointoxication, I feel junky, right? So we have to look at that. There's ways to test for this. There's markers we use specific to the gut to say, is this intact? And are we safe then to go ahead and eat something? Now, on the other end of the brain, we run here tests of the blood, of the urine, of genetic markers, and we ask, are you fit? Should you encounter a toxin, are you fit with enough antioxidants? Almost like back in the day of using rust proofing under cars, how they used to do that. It's kind of saying, am I protected? Should something come my way to want to stimulate my areas in my brain, like the Broca's area for speech or the limbic system for mood and emotion? So I know so many of you are worried about what can I do to stop this? Well, look ahead, be proactive. Do I have enough of these antioxidants, micronutrients, vitamins? Am I eating something that's toxic to my body? And is my gut healthy enough to handle it? Because we say this all the time, toxins in, but toxins out, right? Remember those old revolving doors at the department stores? You'd kind of spin in and spin out. So the big issue people always ask me about here is, what about chelation? What about detoxification? I'm super scared about this. Guys, once you start to actually proper have internal cell function through methylation and mitochondrial support, you actually do excrete toxins, right? Don't we all know somebody who's 90 or almost 100 and they did everything wrong? We're going, oh my word, how did they do that? How are they still healthy, relatively speaking, and they're way up there in years, and yet they've worked in maybe a coal mine or a steel mill or a factory. It's like, why am I doing everything right? And they're not, and they're healthy and I'm not. Because these innate mechanisms, often genetically driven, kept them healthy. So we look at genes here to understand that. And can you chelate? Can you detoxify and be safe? You can. There's different ways to do this. You can use antioxidants. You can use binders. So I always give this analogy. If you're in a coal mine and you're down there digging away, it takes a few things to happen, all right? So you're in the coal mine digging. You have to carry it on a little hopper car up the coal mine to the very top, have a dump truck or something come along and take it away. So here we go. If I look at you and I say, there's no toxic metals. I don't see mercury. I don't see lead. I don't see arsenic. I don't see tin, titanium, aluminum. I don't see it. Maybe your doctor's told you that. But you think, I have brain fog. I have everyday mental malfunction. I have fatigue. I can't think. I'm tired. My child's on the spectrum. Something is wrong. That's metal toxicity for some people. How do we then go down in the coal mine and test for this and kind of break it out, get in the cell, right? And break it out, carry it out in the bloodstream, carry it to the liver, transport it to the kidneys, and then ultimately take it away? Well, that's what we do. So there's multiple steps to doing proper chelation for heavy metals. So again, if we're looking for ways to restore the brain, ways to help look ahead at what we can do to be proactive, there's steps you can take now to make sure these mechanisms of a healthy gut, of a healthy body, of a healthy methylation cycle, mitochondrial cycles, these things are able to be tested objectively with data and look ahead and actually help people go through this process smoothly. So I want you to think about all that. If you have any questions, reach out to us, give us a call, contact us here. The website's on there. It's drnoahsark.com. You can check us out at innovativefamilywellness.com for more information. We do Skype consultations for those. We do prefer an office. They're available. We also do here acupuncture, as I mentioned, cranial sacral therapy, on-site labs. We'd love to be able to help you. See, here's a patient, kind of look at these things ahead and understand, can we be proactive in the face of autism? All right, everybody, for Innovative Family Wellness, this is Dr. Noah wishing you a great day. Thanks so much for tuning in, and pass this along, please, to someone that you think this might be of help to. Thanks so much again. We're looking forward to helping you along your health journey. Take care. Bye.